Well, the first thing I do when I come in is light the fire, which is like a really special part of the morning for me. It's just a time of reflection, you know, you can't do anything too fast. I light a little charcoal, put some wood on. We're burning a local wood called Cenote, which has got a beautiful flavour and it's a hardwood, so it burns really slow. And it takes a while to light, but you sort of just fan it for a minute and I drink a coffee and that's my morning routine. I grew up in Melbourne. My family sort of came from the country area of Victoria. So I'd spend a lot of my time with my grandparents and my mum down in a place called Woodend, actually. My mum was the first one to teach me how to light a fire, and she said everyone needs to know how to light a good fire. There's a certain smokiness and development of flavour that you get from a live fire that I've always just loved. We have a dish on the menu, it's blue prawns that we get from Cenote. They're really sustainably caught and they're beautiful, sweet prawns. And we cook those in a charcoal burning oven. You just light a fire of charcoal in the bottom, so it's really hot and it's really smoky. It's an interesting way to cook because you're sort of half fire manager and half chef. Managing the fire is probably more important than knowing how to cook in a kitchen like this. If you don't manage the fire, then your temperature's always off. With the fire, it's a live, living thing. Well, the first time I came to Maroma, I kind of felt like it was where the jungle meets the ocean. You know, there's this beautiful little moment where it's green and there's spider monkeys and white-tailed deer and all this incredible wildlife right here. And then as soon as you get to the sand, there's this incredible aqua, turquoise kind of water. And I was thinking about where the jungle meets the ocean, and it sort of reminded me of a wood end. It's where the wood ends, you know, and it's where my mum grew up and my nan lived her whole life, and I spent a lot of time. It was really special to me, and I started thinking about wood end, and then I thought it's interesting because it's where the wood literally ends, because we burn it on a fire and turn it into embers, and then we turn those embers into someone's dinner. So it sort of felt pretty natural that Wood End would be the name of the restaurant. I've always loved risotto. It's a beautiful Italian staple. When I came here, I was really taken with some of the ingredients we found and that were really meaningful to the Mayan culture. So we decided to do a Mayan rice dish that's sort of cooked in a similar way to a risotto, but we use wheat, which sort of dates all the way back to the Mayan culture. And it has a really interesting texture to it. So we'd use a mix of that and rice. Chaya is another ingredient. It's like a local spinach, and it's vibrant green and beautifully flavored. So we can create this rice dish that has some Mayan ingredients in it. It almost looks more like a risotto. It's almost like the perfect accompaniment to everything else that you're eating on the table. love cooking vegetables over fire because I think there's ways to get incredible flavour into something that you don't expect to be so brilliant. You know, we char cabbage in the embers. We do a zucchini dish too that we cook over the fire, and again you get that sort of light smokiness, but you still keep the zucchini kind of tender. And then we make a pesto from a spicy leaf. It's just a very simple dish, but I think, you know, when you serve in beautiful seafood and meat, the vegetables have to be just as exciting. I'm my happiest when I'm in my kitchen. It's funny. I think some people use it as a thing, but I use it for everything. We're tradespeople, you know, we learn a trade and that's what we are. Yes, it can be creative, but I think you've got to learn that trade really well. For a chef, you get inspired by all sorts of things. The first time I came here, I went swimming in a cenote, and it's this beautiful crystal clear water, and they're sort of round in shape, and you dive into them and it's super fresh, and it's what the Mayans have used for a long, long time, whether it was for their drinking water, and there's a whole belief of the underworld, and I was totally taken by that. I wanted to create something that sort of honoured the idea of a cenote. The very first thing we serve people is something to cleanse a palate. What we decided to do was to create this little essence of tomato. You can grow beautiful tomatoes here, and we've got all different flavoured tomatoes that we use. We put it in a cheesecloth and we hang it overnight. So what comes out is this perfectly clear liquid that tastes really intense of tomatoes. And then there's little things that we put in there. We put little balls of melon and cucumber and a little melon sorbet that makes it super fresh and cold, and a bunch of different fresh herbs. So you sort of taste things in it that you don't know are there and you can't necessarily identify, but that's sort of the point. So we've made this tomato essence that's kind of inspired by a cenote. So when you drink it, it's meant to freshen you up in the same way that it does when you jump into a cenote. Well, we're in paradise. That's where we are. It's such a beautiful place. You know, every time you walk outside, you're just like, there's a real sense of, I don't know, I kind of feel like it's a really spiritual place. You know, you walk out and there's just something that calms you, whether it's the ocean or the people or the history of the Mayans in this area. I started cooking when I was a little kid. My grannies were good cooks, both of them, Maud and Gwen, the names of my 2 restaurants in LA. I think I've sort of always just had this obsession with how things taste. I think that's the most beautiful thing, is you're a student forever. You're a student until you give it up. And you realise that it's an entire universe of knowledge out there and you just have a tiny bit of it.